Here is another vital thing right here. So when we're talking about cardiovascular training is not necessarily endurance training, right? Am I right? Can you do cardiovascular training without doing something endurance-wise? That's kind of a key element in NASM. Okay, when they're talking about conditioning in these zones, they're not talking about necessarily being on the treadmill or on the bike or on the rowing machine or the Stairmaster or whatever the case may be. Stairmaster is a horrible cardio machine, by the way. It's too intense for most people. They end up leaning all of their weight on their arms, on the bar and the handlebars, rather than keeping their weight you know, in the legs when they're stepping. Okay, it's too intense. So anyway, let's take it from this standpoint here. ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, recommends for weight loss to occur a frequency of 5 to 7 days a week for training. 40 to 60% heart rate reserve. We talked about that on Monday, heart rate reserve. So we know that 40 to 60% of heart rate reserve is moderate to vigorous intensity. Okay, that is zone 2, folks. That's zone 2. Okay, so in between 75 to 85% heart rate max. And then we've got 45 to 60 minutes large muscle activity for weight loss to occur. I haven't really talked about cardiovascular yet. So how do we hit these when we've got somebody, for example, like Betty Bertha, that's had 16 kids in the past 4 years and have just been on the couch, just breastfeeding and taking care of these kids, been sedentary for the past 4 years, done nothing, and now she wants her body back. She wants to lose 60 pounds, right? But she's done nothing. She's completely unfit, completely ready to be fit. That's what we call that. When you're sedentary, deconditioned, you know, we say that they're ready to be fit, right? We don't say you're out of shape, right? We say you're ready to be fit. How do we take somebody and do that? How can we program that for Betty Bertha to accomplish that on week 1, our first week of training with her? How do we do that?
Wouldn't you have to set up a base first to get an idea of where to start her off at?
Yes. So you would do a fitness assessment with her, right? And you know what we would find is, yeah, her VO2 is really low, right? We need to, you know, we need to start at the bottom, right? So you're right. You need to start off at a base, but there's a little bit of a trade secret that I'm trying to share with you guys. But before I do that, I just kind of want to get the wheels turning in here. Okay, how do we keep her? Because what most people would say is, well, put her on the treadmill, right? And they might say something like, okay, I want you to run for 45 minutes because that's how long we need to train for to get our results. How long is Betty Bertha, who's brand new, is she going to be able to run for 45 minutes? No. That's why I put the cow jumping over the moon, right? There's no way she could do that. You know, she can't jump over the moon, and she can't do 45 minutes on the treadmill at a running pace. Could she do a walking pace at 45 minutes? Completely sedentary?
Maybe.
Yeah, big maybe. 50-50 chance on that, right? Not only that, but is she going to pay you $60 an hour to say walk on the treadmill? That whole time she's on the treadmill, she's going to be thinking, why am I paying a trainer? Right? So how are we going to keep her sustained here like this? She's out of shape to do this endurance, but we also want her burning a massive amount of calories. We want a high metabolic rate going on here, okay? So one of the things that I learned a long time ago in the fitness industry was to do this. This is old. Look, see, 2009 right there. There's a date on this. I've been doing this type of workout forever, and it still works rock awesome for people. I mean, slam dunk. What I do is I start them out with wall squats, and they do 8 to 12 wall squats, okay? I used to do leg press, but I found out that a lot of these people who are deconditioned, the weight that they choose, they're like 300 pounds, and what do they choose for leg press? 60 pounds. So I'm like, you walk from A to B at 300 pounds, and you're leg pressing at 60? We need to up our game. So I usually start out with the wall squats with the stability ball, or ball squats, because I want to see some body weight activity going on first to see where we're at. And you can put a chair underneath them, or you can put a box underneath them, whatever, as a safety if they can't hit the brakes going past parallel or going too parallel or whatever. But I like the wall squats. But you could do leg press or wall squats, 8 to 12. And what you want to do is tell them, I want you to pick a weight so that when you get to your 8 to 12 repetitions, whatever, you're feeling like you can't do more than that. That's about your stopping point right there. You're done, you know, in the range of 8 to 12 repetitions, okay? And then when they're done that, we go and we hit leg curl. We don't rest after wall squats. We go straight to leg curl without much rest. Go straight to leg curl. Again, that weight, that resistance is heavy enough that we're doing 8 to 12. Then we go to leg extension. Heavy enough, we're going 8 to 12, can't do more than 12. The weight's heavy enough, can't do more than 12. Then we go and do the inner and outer thighs, right? You guys know the inner and outer thigh machine, right? Yeah, no? Yes, yeah, the machines that the girls love to do and the guys love to watch, right? Oh, I just made it weird, didn't I? Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Girls are cranking out on those machines and the guys are like, I'm not watching. Or, I'm not going to get caught watching. Yeah. Oh, just made it weird. Yeah. Okay, so we got your inner and outer thigh machines, calf machine, we got abdominals. I like the half crunch. You guys know that. We went over that previous week. Then we could hit upper body if we wanted to do a whole body workout, or when we're done the lower body right here, after we do abs, bam, I flip it back up to wall squats again for set number 2. And we do the whole thing through and then hit set number 3. Number 3 right there. Okay. Now, like little to zero rest in between exercises. Would you guys agree that doing your squat muscles, targeting mainly glute, okay, and then going to leg curl, it's kind of going into a fresh muscle group there. We're not really hitting hard and heavy on the hamstrings. Admittedly so, squats are going to be utilizing hamstrings, but not as the primary dominant mover, right? So hamstrings are going to be relatively fresh, and so are quadriceps, okay, relatively fresh after doing wall squats. Hip adductor, abductor, definitely fresh, okay? So we're going from unutilized fresh muscle group to fresh muscle group to fresh muscle group to fresh muscle group without any rest in between, fatiguing all of those muscles that are fresh and ready to be used and have energy in there, okay? So what is that doing to the cardiovascular system if we're not allowing any rest in between these exercises?
It's getting your heart rate up.
Yes, you guys got it. So much so, I mean, you know, Betty Bertha, her heart would be going like a jackrabbit. Okay, so 8 to 12 repetitions. If she's going to a fatigue point on 8th repetitions, she's very close to or at 80% of her 1 rep max, estimated 1 rep max. So she's getting a strength stimulus, which is going to cause a recovery effect the day after, because we're doing strength training. But at the same time as we're doing strength training, we're keeping that heart rate elevated for the entire session, minus a few water breaks, right? So we're getting cardio, we're getting resistance training, okay? Metabolically, I call it a 2-for-1, a twofer, okay? Because she's burning a massive amount of calories in the session, and because it's strength training, when she goes home during that 48 hours of recovery, her body or metabolism in response to that bout of resistance training is going to burn approximately an equivalent amount of energy. So if she burned 500 calories in that session, she'll burn 500 calories in EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, while her body is building and repairing from the strength training stimulus that she had. So she could effectively, from that workout session, be burning 1,000 calories. Now on day 2, when she's recovering from leg day, she could be doing upper body day and then getting EPOC from that, and EPOCing while she's doing leg day on the following Wednesday. Does that make sense? So this snowballs metabolism and calories for weight loss in a really effective way, but it also has a champion effect on cardiovascular, building the cardiovascular system, okay? Now, is that gonna build up her endurance for running? It's gonna help her heart increase and be more effective in endurance, and all we're waiting for is her legs and the endurance muscles, okay, to catch up with the endurance, okay? Now, I was so impressed with myself back in the day because I discovered this. I was thrilled. I thought I was hot stuff. I thought I had like the secret sauce for weight loss. It worked so good. I slam dunked it with the clients. I was so confident. I was like, bam, this is rocking it, right? And then when I come to Bryan University, because I wasn't NASM certified when, initially, my certifications through ACSM and NSCA. My CSCS is with NSCA, and my CPT is through ACSM. And I come across the NASM book, and I'm reading the NASM book on types of training, and I see this here, resistance training systems, and I see circuit training, yeah, know what that is. Peripheral heart action, let's see what they're talking about there. Vertical loading, what's vertical loading? Performing exercises on the OPT template one after the other in a vertical manner down the template. And I swore. Because what I had effectively done, you guys, is reinvented the wheel that had already been invented, and it was right there in the NASM book. Granted that they hadn't published that book when I realized what I was doing, okay? But I wasn't the only person that had caught on to this vertical loading circuit. That is what I just described to you according to NASM's terminology, is a vertical loading circuit.
Temperatures?
Now, vertical loading circuits are recommended by NASM
high fan speed
for your cardiovascular training.
And you could see all the dust that was removed.
Okay, let's read about this. Vertical loading is a resistance training system used by NASM and follows the OPT model. It progresses a workout vertically down the template by alternating body parts trained from set to set. When looking at the OPT template, it can be seen that resistance training section involves the following exercises. Okay, this is a whole body workout. In a vertically loaded workout, the client would perform the first exercise for the required repetitions and then move to the chest exercise for the next set of repetitions. After the chest exercise, the client would move on to the back exercise. Okay. Now, the effect. This vertical loading system of training can be very beneficial for allowing maximal recovery of each body part while minimizing the amount of wasted time on rest. For example, if it takes 1 minute to perform each exercise and the client returns to the chest exercise, 7 to 10 minutes could have passed. So they're allowing optimal recovery between body parts. But the other effect is that it's a really, really good training system for people who are trying to develop cardiovascular capacity. Okay. Now, peripheral heart action system. By the way, you guys, vertical loading works so well on people like Betty Bertha that are ready to be fit. You can accomplish all those ACSM parameters. Moderate to vigorous, or 40 to 60% heart rate reserve intensity, for 45 to 60 minutes of duration, most days of the week. Large muscle group activity. You accomplish all of those with somebody who is so unfit that they probably couldn't jog for 10 minutes without stopping. So all of you guys should be jumping up and down in your seat saying, I now have the answer to the universe. This is awesome. I can take a completely sedentary client and rock it with them so that they can't believe that they just went 45 minutes of training and didn't have to stop, except for maybe a few water breaks. This is a significant thing for you guys to recognize, and it will take you to the professional grade of personal trainer that you're looking to achieve. This right here, knowing how to program design a vertical loading circuit. Now, the only problem that you're going to have from there is keeping your clients from throwing up. Because it works so well, they're able to sustain that high intensity for so long. Remember when I said bioenergetics, you got that fast glycolysis that bleeds out that lactate that becomes lactic acid in the blood, and the kidneys and the liver have to clear it. They don't do it fast enough. You get acidosis and you feel like you're going to throw up. You get a headache, you get nauseousness, you get stomach upset, dizziness, and you feel like you have to sit down and you're going to throw up, right? That will happen to your clients if you don't back them down a little bit. Okay. Biggest mistake that most personal trainers make, we overprogram it and just almost kill our clients. So always be prepared when you design a program, how to regress it and back it down. Okay. Definitely so when you're doing a vertical loading. Okay. Now, with that being said, okay, we have, let's say I was doing the vertical loading program right here, the secret sauce, and I'm doing it for upper body right here. Just upper body. Now, I have had clients like Betty Bertha that, you know, they're out of shape, but they're not necessarily enormous. They might be petite, but completely out of shape. And I've had heart rate monitors on them, you guys, and when they do bicep curl, their heart is staying at a rest, almost at like 90 beats per minute or 100 beats per minute, going to a complete fatigue on bicep curl. You know, and they're doing, you know, a bilateral movement right here. So they're doing 2-arm bicep curl going to fatigue, and their heart rate is doing nothing. It's staying at like 105 beats per minute, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, we got to do something about this, because the person's not even breathing heavy and they don't feel like they're getting a workout, and yet their biceps are completely fatigued, which means there's not enough muscle mass to really affect the heart. So what do? How do we get the heart rate to go up when biceps don't have enough muscle to do that? Alyssa says eat salad. That is the answer. Biceps are not tripping out the heart rate. So what do we do?
Are we talking about peripheral heart training here? Like utilize
Yes.
like a leg workout in between?
Wow. Okay, so we just jumped like 4 steps there, Robert. Awesome job. You guys give him a virtual high five in your camera. You just rocked it. That's exactly where I was going, peripheral heart action. So the next level, you want to take it to the next level, is you mix upper body and alternate it with lower body. So if you got somebody like Betty Bertha and you're doing upper body stuff and it's not tripping out her heart rate, you have her do a bicep curl and then go and do some squats. And then you have her do some lat pull down and then go and do some walking lunges. And this can be, you can be adding in speed ladder, you can be adding in running, jumping rope, whatever, okay? Doing some rowing, you know, any sort of cardio stuff. And what that's going to do is that's going to keep that heart rate elevated as we go back into upper body stuff again. So alternating back and forth, okay? Plyometrics is an option, okay? But now we're not calling, NASM is not calling it plyometrics anymore. I know, weird, huh? They're calling it reactive training. Because a true plyometric would be taking Betty Bertha to, let's say, a 24-inch box and say, okay, we're going to drop off that, and then we're going to rebound back on it. That is really what we're talking about when we're saying plyometrics for most people in the fitness industry. And NASM is like, that's way too hard for Betty Bertha. She's just starting out. So we're going to do jumping jacks. Is jumping jacks a plyometric? Well, yeah. Yeah, you've got an eccentric, an amortization phase, and a concentric. That's a plyometric. But a jumping jack is typically not intense enough to be called a plyo. So a jumping jack would be more of reactive training, ballistic reactive jumping jack. So we would be more going into like the reactive training as an option for Betty Bertha. Very good thought, Alyssa. You guys are on track, man. Okay. So now, just a side note on this, you guys are welcome to use this template with your clients. It works really, really well. Like I said, I've been using it for years. It's never done me wrong. Some of you guys might look at it and say, but Jonathan, selectorized machines, dude. Come on, let's up our game a little bit. You ever heard of a kettlebell, right? Yes. But how many times a week do you expect to be working with your clients on average? Some can afford to work with you 3 times a week, which is rockin' awesome. Some of them can't afford to work with you more than once a week because private sessions are really expensive, right? It's going to average to about 2 times a week. So what you're going to be needing to do is giving them 2 programs ultimately, is what I suspect you will find that you'll need to do. You'll have a program that they're to do when you're not with them, and you want to make sure that that program is safe, that they're not going to hurt themselves, right? And then you want a program that you're going to do with them when you're able to supervise their movement patterns and make sure everything is all safe. So kettlebells, landmines, battle ropes, sandbags, barbell work, free weight stuff, good to go when the trainer's there. What I like to do is I like to give them something that they can do on free weights until I know that they're ready to do some of those activities on their own. So selectorized machines are good because they're safe and they're fast, right? Usually a little bit crowded if you're in some of the big box gyms, but they're safe and they're fast, okay? So this is basically a program that I have my clients do. I'll adapt it for each client, you know, based on their likes and dislikes for exercise and stuff. But this is a template that I'll base my programming off of for them as basically what they do in the gym when I'm not there. Make sense? Clear as mud? So here are some other types of programming. Okay, this is an example of a vertical loading circuit that is taking it up to the elite notch. In fact, I would challenge the people that do my EXS 100 class, if they do this program, and they can modify it or regress it, scale it to whatever they want. But if they do it, I would up their grade by a whole letter. Okay, because this is a lot of your plyometric type training. So you've got a shoulder push press, meaning that the weight's too heavy for a regular shoulder press on its own. You have to use the legs, right, for the last few reps. You've got plyo chin-ups. You got suitcase rows, one-arm suitcase rows with the barbell, plyo push-ups with the plyo boxes, box jumps, arm curl, dips with a sandbag on your shoulders, jumping lunges. So quite an aggressive plyometric workout. Kicks your trash. Great workout. So we'll go back to some of these, and I'll explain a little bit on some of these on how they work. But those are all examples of cardiovascular training that you can use. Okay, so just keep in mind, number one, cardiovascular training does not necessarily mean endurance training. Okay. The other thing is that not all of your clients are going to be able to sustain any sort of endurance training when they're beginning with you. So it's something that you have on the docket. You're wanting to start them out with LSD training, long slow duration training, is what I would recommend. But the program design that you give them is going to work on some cardio and some sort of resistance training, or some sort of functional movement training that's going to keep their heart rate elevated, but go from exercise to different exercise. Okay, that is going to be the way that you can help them condition cardiovascular wise as far as programming is concerned. Okay, so after a vertical loading circuit that takes them, let's say 35 minutes to 45 minutes, then what I would do is I would tell my clients, all right, our session's done. What I want you to do now, before you go ahead and do a warm down, is I want you to hop on that treadmill and see what kind of time you can give me on a pace that you feel like you can sustain. So can you give me 5 minutes? Great. You gave me 5 minutes last week. Can you give me 7? Can you give me 6.5? Can you take it just that extra minute? Sometimes a minute is like enough. It's hard when you're worn out to go an extra minute, right? Builds up very quick. Okay. Any questions on that? All right.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
In our homework or our assignment for this week, and kind of the same as last week, on the heat, it has your warm up and then cardio and then cool down. So it's okay to use strength exercises for that cardio section?
Yes.